All right. Welcome to another Thursday evening edition of Grown Folks Business. Tonight will be a special night. It is a family affair. Lisa, glad you can make it. I thought tonight's topic aligned with some of the things I think about you and everything you've done and are doing, and trying to remain balanced in the process. So it is about the why and the when of things, and better now than never, right? No time like the present. Aligning your why with your win is tonight's topic. Um, Again, I was thinking about some of the things that you have been doing most recently, and some of the things I've been doing, and some people I know, and everybody's trying to, I guess, be purposeful in what they're doing to some extent in their personal and professional lives. So, you know, trying to make sure you're purposeful in the things that you're doing, it can actually attach itself to outcomes that can be unexpected, and we'll get to some of that. But I'm glad you can make it. Some of the usual suspects are indisposed tonight, and sometimes we get that little lull after I have a week off. So we're here, and we're going to make it do what we can do for as long as we can do it. And I'm glad to have you in the space. So again, I'll begin by seeing if what I'm saying with the topic resonates, because it's not a question this week. It's kind of I guess, a affirmation, positive affirmation, even though I don't do a lot of those. It's just it's a way of, I think, approaching goals and tasks and things that hold your interest and things that you desire to get engaged in. And again, they can lead to other places. So no time like the present, aligning your why with your win. What does that say to you? How does that resonate with you?
So for me, it is poignant because, well, the no time like the present is elusive to some extent for me, because just because there seems to be an urgency of something doesn't mean the right moment is that this is the right moment. But for me, a lot of the things that I have been doing more actively lately, it has aligned more perfectly because I've been an advocate for people, especially vulnerable people, for all of my adult life. But to step it up to a more public platform, like sitting on municipal boards, commissions, and even running for office of late, the why and when have aligned more perfectly because as a mother of five, my first priority was Team Lisa, the five that were at home. And I didn't want to have this tribe of the pinnacle PK kids where you're out in the world helping everybody else and your home is going to hell in a handbasket. So I couldn't take all of my energy and be fighting for good causes, and my kids need to be fed. But right now it has aligned so well because I only have one more, and she is about 6 months shy of legal adulthood, and so much more independent. And then I'm able to even take her along on in a lot of the places and spaces that I've gone to. And then again, she's the why. She was the why because things were getting to be so turbulent for her future. And because of experiences that I've had as an adult, I could see, oh man, if I don't partake of some of these opportunities, her future is at stake, especially locally. And so I knew that my voice was needed more publicly at this time to give her greater opportunities for her adulthood. And so the why and the when aligned perfectly in those respects.
Yeah, I love where you went with that, and I think you're actually speaking of it in a way that kind of better defines why I chose present over now. Like no time like the present is a better known, I guess, saying. But I didn't say now because present can be relative, right? Present doesn't have to mean if you don't do it today, then you'll never do it. Or if you don't act as soon as possible, then you're missing out on getting something accomplished. The present is just where you are kind of in that mental headspace at the time. So, I'm thinking of analogies as I often do. And I thought about the mattress analogy. The mattress stinks and you want to get a new one. It's killing your back, your shoulder, your legs, but you find yourself still sleeping over it. your presence of mind is not every night you think about that mattress that you need. Your presence of mind can be in that present state for many years. You know, you need that new mattress. But think about it. Um, how many mattresses do we go through in our lifetime, right? So if you are capable and able, and I know a mattress is an expense, but it's for your well-being. So in that case, there is no time like the present. You know, whatever that present becomes, when you get that new mattress, you wholly get to recalibrate what the present is in terms of needing a better surface to get some rest. And your wine wind should be totally aligned if you're waking up stiff as a board and hurt. Um, what do you think of when I say to you that the best laid plans quote? You familiar? You know, the best laid plans. So what crosses your mind? And I'll also pitch in, but what crosses your mind when you hear that?
To me, we can have our ideas of what it is that we want, and we can lay out this plan for how we're going to do it, when and where we're going to do it. But if we don't account for the things we can't account for, then it could be, derailed. And as I speak often, I'm a spiritual person. So even when something does not go as I would have hoped it would go or liked for it to go, and I shudder even saying that now, because I am so much more attuned with what I'm supposed to be doing in reference to allowing God to guide me. So I know that God told me to run for County Commissioner, District 7, right? Was I, in my humanness, a little disappointed that I didn't win? A little bit. But I was so much more appreciative that wasn't in my plan. But something happened to some people, groups of people, that I was like, ooh, their voices are missing. And so even though I didn't win the seat, I got the opportunity to express what was missing in that public platform. So although my plan technically was not to run for office, but then something happened, and then I'm led by the Spirit to throw my name in the ring, right? And then I get to say some of these things that are missing in this public platform. And there were things that I was not prepared for, but it still made things better because it's out there now. The things that were missing are out there now. And there are some things that are being attended to just because I had diverted from the original plan and then went on and followed this plan, and then something else happened, but the plan was still all to the good, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I'm having to scan through my question thought things because I wanted to get to that, and you brought it back because we had mentioned, I think, before we came on air. Yes, everything's connected. That one decision you make to actually expose yourself to something totally different, new, to challenge yourself, to do the no time like the present, and try to get your why to work with your win and your win to work with your why. It doesn't just become about that one thing. It can't. And you recognize that when you just take a step back and say, well, truly, if I had not done this, in your case, run for county committee, this would not be in my purview. And I would not, although this might have been on my mind, I would not have gotten as close as I am getting to that now. So there's so much alignment. I'll come to the question I tried to formulate because you've already kind of answered it, but we can unpack it a little bit further. But yeah, to answer my own question, when I think about the best laid plans, some of the work I do, whether it's with NC 100 or RELC, which I had a wonderful event this past weekend. Your son actually came and attended. It was pretty awesome. Hopefully we get some footage of that out there fairly soon. But that's the Racial Equity Learning Community. And there's a lot of alignment in what I do. I mean, there's almost total alignment, right? But the best laid plans in what I do at points in times is contingent on a number of factors. Attendance, that's probably one of the primary ones. Sometimes weather, sometimes getting people to desire to come speak and such. And sometimes my preparedness in terms of knowing how I'm going to be on at those points and times that I need to. So it's not necessarily about preparedness, because I feel like I'm always ready, but you want to make sure that you're speaking to the topics that you desire to, and that you're getting out what you want to communicate paramountly, because this might be a one-shot deal. You might not get to see the same group of people. So even with planning out the RELC retreat, my no time like the present is always in motion. I'm getting my whys and my wins lined up, because I know what I want to talk about. I know how I want to deliver things, but the dates get a little funky. The locations get a little funky. What I'll say that I hope is well received by who's listening out there, including yourself, Lisa, of course. When I think of best laid plans, I commit to the idea of the best outcome, no matter. So the plans, of course, as you can't plan for what you don't know. But if you kind of adjust your thinking for the best outcome, no matter what those plans endure during the process, you're preparing yourself in some way for the avoidance of that potential letdown, because those plans, as we know, that's why the whole saying exists: best laid plans. What is it, Murphy's Law, all that good stuff. But I had a wonderful, outstanding, could not have asked for a better event at Hard River in one of their nice facilities. And on the way, the plans changed and things could have went a whole different direction. But in my processing of what I do in totality, in any realm, in any shape, form, running for public office included, there's the desire to make sure that my why and my win remain somewhere aligned during the process. And I think it gets us to better places, unexpected places, which kind of brings us to what you were discussing. So I think it's a fairly understandable question, but it is in the realm of what you just spoke on, and I want to unpack it a little bit. So hopefully this makes sense. How important is it to have a schedule? And how is your desired outcome for any situation connected to a time frame? If that resonates, I say that connects to what you were sharing, because if you have a desired outcome, as I just made, a bit more of a thing when it comes to best laid plans, having that schedule and having the understanding that your desired outcome is, for any situation, is connected to a time frame. Does that make sense? So what you were kind of unpacking was alluding to that so much I had to go find that question before we came back. But yeah, so I'll read it again, just so I'll read both of them again. But how important is it to you to have a schedule? And how is your desired outcome for any situation connected to a time frame? You just shared with me an event that you're putting together that you did some work on for this weekend. So I had to make sure I put it on my schedule. You know what I mean? So I expect to be there. But go ahead, talk to me.
Ooh, that's tough. The reason it's tough is from me and my personal background, because of me being nurtured in an environment of trauma and chaos. Even when I became an adult, I did not live according to schedules and timelines, because I was so used to survival mentality and not even thinking about a future. And when you're not hopeful for a future, you don't even planning for a future. So it's actually been in my later years that I'm having to develop the skills to have a more regimented plan and a desired outcome in mind. But that's from intense therapy and understanding all those dynamics of, wow, why didn't I use agendas? Why didn't I use? So to your point, though, it is important to have a plan, to have a schedule, and to have some tentative idea of the desired outcome, because some things are unattainable based on different timelines. So I first started thinking about this when I was thinking about the NBA players who went college for the NBA. And I was thinking of it logically and saying, well, it makes sense that they are in the best physical shape of their lives between 18 and 21. And there are things that could happen that will take that opportunity away. It also makes sense that if you have an immature mind, you get millions of dollars, you're going to be busted, broke, mess up your life. But to do a risk benefit analysis, I'd go for foregoing college. And I'm I'm pro education down. But because of the risk benefit analysis to you being able to attain your dream, if your dream is to be a pro basketball player and you have this opportunity at 18, 19, or even 20, that's go for your dream, because there is something that can derail your opportunity for that dream. So even for me, I do still have a vision for something that I want to attain within what I think is a reasonable timeline, but I also have had to learn what is reasonable because I was molded into unreasonableness, if that makes sense.
Total sense. What resonates the most with what you were sharing is about the earlier experiences. I am a person that grew up in an environment that was not, it definitely wasn't extremely bad. It wasn't the greatest, it wasn't roses and cherries, but who has that? I said cherries, roses and rainbows or unicorns, whatever. It wasn't fairy tale-ish. But I know that the vulnerabilities that you feel at those certain stages of adolescence will lead you to think that you're limited in your potential, that you most likely won't get to a certain place where there's ever going to be a need for any extensive planning or desire for better outcomes, because your outcomes are what they're going to be, and there's nothing you can do about it. Fast forward, of course, you can put your hands on the steering wheel. You still may not have GPS that works all the way correct, but you can kind of control some of the things that you can, and you can make better decisions and not drive down the dark alleyway that actually deads into a brick wall. So I was somebody who didn't think about living past 25. I barely thought about living to any measure of 20 something. But once you get to a certain stage in life, if you're afforded the enlightenment, the consciousness to be awakened, you'll appreciate different perspectives and different angles of this thing. It's life is trippy. It really is.
Well, I will say I have an affection for regimens. So I may not have been all about schedules and agendas and things like that, but I have had to say, well, you know what, you've been pretty regimented. Like, you'll get up the same time and you'll do the same thing. So it has helped in order to try to streamline that planning process, that scheduling, and that and trying to learn those things.
No, I think some type of regimen is very important. Whether it's brushing your teeth or drinking water, I don't care what it is. It should be something that kind of gives you that, I know I have to do this if I don't do anything else, motivation. I think that's something that's critically important. Everybody doesn't even adhere to those type of norms. And I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying, if it's including of your health and wellness, brush your teeth, or, drink plenty of water, get that thing like I have right here. I don't know what it's called, so it's not an advertisement, but I know I'm drinking this much water at certain points of the day. Matter of fact, this thing says on it the time of day and what point you should be at as far as drinking the water. I mean, just try to do some things that kind of keep you on that regimented mindset about things, especially when it's concerning your health. I'll say that again, especially when it's concerning your health. So something I'll ask, and we kind of are addressing stuff without being so direct, so we get to just unpack things a little bit further. But if you have an example, and I can go first to give you a good idea, and it's not quite 1,000% the question, but it'll give you an idea of where I'm going with this question, where I was trying to go. So, what is something you want to do but haven't taken the time to put in motion? Now, when I say no time like the present, aligning your why with your when, I believe again that presence is kind of subjective. You know, that present does not mean I look at my watch and say I'm missing out. I got to do this right now. It means that you started something in motion, even if it's just up here. So when I ask that question, I'm including the starting in motion being a thought. Now, not a fleeting thought, but an energetic one that is something that you've started up here. You may have actually started doing outside of the thought, may not have completed it, but you know it's something that you haven't taken the time to put fully in motion, or something that you have because of that thought. Me personally, I know I'm going to at some point complete my novel, but I know it's done up here. I know it's done up here. And I put it in motion. That's why I say it's not quite 1,000% answer. And it doesn't have to be, of course. But I know that it's done up here. It's been put in motion. It's actually been, some chapters have been written and blah, blah, blah. But I can still put it in the realm of taking the time to complete it because it's in motion. But you get the gist of the question. So it can be something you're working on or thought about working on. And I have those too, but that's the one that I know comes back to me every time when I have these thoughts about, I really need to do that.
Woo. Before you gave that example, I was sitting up going, there's nothing that I've thought about or wanted to do that I have not started doing. So, and that's before you gave that answer, because the first thing I thought about is I've been a full-time mother for over 30 years. And whether I've dibbled and dabbed in business, whatever, I was still, if you ask me my profession, I'd say I'm a professional mother, because at any point I'll quit a job, I'll close a business, whatever, if I felt like I was needed more presently with my kids. But even doing that, I've constantly read books. I've constantly engaged in videos or shows that was always keeping me filled up with knowledge to be able to enter into whatever I wanted at any point, because that was always important to me to have options. But once you gave your example, there is something that I know that I'm called to do and need to do, not for me, but it's scary for me. And that is to more publicly share aspects of my story, of experiences. And especially, oh my goodness, this is a very tumultuous time for people who are vulnerable, people who have been extremely disenfranchised. And my oldest son, he's often told me, oh, mama, that's not fair. It's somebody that can be helped by your story. And I'm like, yeah, but then, and then my youngest son, during my campaign, he said, well, what you need to do is you need to do a video every day or 2 or 3 times a week and just talk about your story and share some. And I've thought about it for double-digit years, probably a dozen or so years, but it's scary. It's scary because, not because of me, because there are public and semi-private spaces where I'll share intimate details because I smile and people think, oh my God, this woman must have had this fabulous life and she's just so gosh darn happy. And so I'll have to share, well, no, I've been homeless. Well, no, my mother died, or, certain things. So the scary part is that I want to make sure that my motives stay pure and that I stay honest to the message, and I don't put things out there that are going to hurt people, and be intentional about it. It's kind of like I'm still trying to protect the big bad wolf somewhat, but I don't want to be vicious, right? And some of the stuff, it can really hurt a lot of people, and not just them personally. So I think about those domino effects, and sometimes to my own demise, but that's just who I am, and I'm cool with who I am. But that's something that has needed to be done, but I have not fully committed to doing it. So you got my no time like the present, got my head on the chopping block right now, Felton. I'm like,
Well, I mean, it's kind of relative again, because if you start that process here, which you clearly have, which if it's the present is whenever the rest takes place and when the why and the when align. So you've started that process, much like I'm saying. My book is finished. I just need to do the other rest of the part to really bring it to fruition. But yeah, I get that totally, and yeah, I think it's very mature of you to be considerate of the ripples that could be caused. Um, Being a person that gets the opportunity to express their self fully and then potentially gets a platform that allows, by some measure, their side of the story to be told in totality, and someone else is being limited, doesn't mean that your story is not your story. And we already talk about that type of subjective mindset and thought process and how you express it. But the fact that you want to be fair in that process is very important. So yeah, if you're going to do it by some measure, I recommend using aliases. Um, if you really want to get it out there, because uh, you don't want to go scorched earth on certain relationships, especially if you are understanding that their uh, situations may have been reflective as far as their actions towards you for a period of time. You could be healthier now. The relationship could be better. Who wants to blow it up just because, yeah, you want to give your testimony, which is high level value, but you get what I'm trying to get at. I don't think I have to keep rambling as far as that goes. I think you get it. But yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I'm here for that. Work towards it. You made a great point though, because I thought the same thing when I think of something that I want to put in motion and may not have taken the time. That's why I go straight to that novel. I put it in motion, da da da. And that's why you say, oh, I like that example because it gives me something to think about, da da da. We understand each other in that way, because my next question, I think, is we're the perfect people to kind of wrestle with this one a little bit and bounce it around, because I believe some of us are conditioned to do this. So why do some of us always need something going on or on the horizon? So I know I am like that. When I say purposeful work, it's not just what I'm doing at the moment. It's something I'm projecting, or something that I want to have going on, or that I already have simmering, or percolating, as they say, at some point. So I feel like that's something that takes place in your world also, which is what makes that earlier question kind of hard to uh, to answer, because I feel like I always have something going on. I always got something. The next thing is on the horizon, or I'm finishing up something that I started a while ago. It's always something on that schedule, on that calendar, that's coming up. So why do you think? And I'm going to include you. If I'm wrong, just correct me. Why do you? Meryl says, love this sharing. I've always wanted to curate stories on paper and video. Y'all are inspiring me to put a plan together. Thanks, Meryl. So yeah, answering that question, I think I can say, we are that type of always have to have something going on, even if it's just minor. Just got to have something going
on. Well, I'm going to go to a biblical reference. Because there are people throughout my whole life that's always like, oh, sit down, relax, you do too much, or you're always busy. And I have come, and thank God for maturity. The word says, to whom much is given, much is required, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean much money. That doesn't mean much. It could mean much anything. I think, I know for me, I have embraced the fact that I have a certain cognitive acumen. My brain works a certain way, and it's not challenge. It's not even hard for me to see something and be like, if this, then that. And that's an easy thing for me to do. And so I feel like I was given that ability, and it would be it would be destructive of me not to utilize what I was given. And it does not bother me whatsoever. It has seemed to bother other people more than it has bothered me. And what I've had to accept and love about me is that, wait a minute, it's okay for your relaxing to be where you're cleaning up your house, right? Versus someone else, their relaxing is sitting down. So I don't get to call them lazy. So you don't get to call me busy. So just like, is it Newton's law, some law for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction? So if I think you're excessively slothy, right, and you think I'm excessively busy, you kind of got to have a balance. But so I have learned that there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and it's okay, because I am so happy. I'm telling you, my body would get like busted down if I just sat in a chair and watched a screen all day. I don't. That would drive me nuts. So I think you're way better at it than me. I think I've noticed that. No, I'm going to do this because it's what I want to do. And maybe it's the feminine part of me that has felt guilty about even feeling that. Okay, so what if I want to change my curtains 15 times a day? Or so what if I want to clean my carpet every month, right? And this is what I told a person earlier this week in respect to no one deserves to be abused. No one. Whether you're an extreme on the Republican side or whether you're extreme on a Democrat side, extreme is extreme, right? So if you're going to condemn this one, you have to condemn the other. So I had to look at myself and say the same thing. Lisa, you deserve to be who you are. Felton deserves to be who Felton is. And that's why I'm cool with it. I'm cool with having my calendar however I have it.
Yeah, I appreciate your observation about me in that capacity, because if I'm no good to myself, I'm no good to others. That's everybody should know that by now. So if there's something that is in my purview and I desire to accomplish it, I desire to go accomplish it or go do it or go participate in it or whatever it is, and I've made up my mind to do so. No matter what other people think I should be obligated to, because if there's something that I was obligated to, it doesn't get done. That thing that I desire to do does not get done. I'm very much a person that adheres to what I have on my calendar and schedule being a priority, especially when I say I want to be somewhere, I say I want to be somewhere. But if my calendar was clear when I made plans that may seem like some type of pleasure or joy to someone else, and they say, "Oh, you should be over here," no. I'm where I'm supposed to be. Those are the plans I made, and you weren't there at the other 500 things that I might have been at. So, that's not a moment for me to become defensive or feel like somebody's pressuring me. But hey, yeah, I'm going to do this thing that kind of gives me that recharge I need. That gives me that levity, that balance. The next question, as we get towards winding down, but I love that we're able to have this conversation the way we are. Like I said, I truly had you in mind when I was coming up with the topic, because again, some people have stuff going on, and I want to make it clear, because I have a friend that I tease every now and then. I'm not talking about being bird excrement and being just everywhere. I'm not talking about that type of behavior. I'm not talking about just being scattered everywhere and doing everything busybody-ish. I'm just talking about understanding that you have things that require your time and attention, and being practical with that time and attention, just like we just established. Sometimes you can make it, sometimes you can't, but sometimes you have to take that step back, but sometimes you got to go full board, and you got a full every day there's something happening, but you can look to the next week, and if you live that long, Lord willing, you'll get a break. So I mean it in the sense of there's some type of structure to having something going on, not just being scattered, not being Waffle House hash browns scattered, covered, and smothered. Nobody's talking about that type thing. Although they're awesome, they're very good. They're awesome. I'm a fan. So, at what point do you consciously acknowledge that you're working toward a goal? Think about that a little bit, because it's easy to say, "Oh, I know I'm going to paint my mailbox." But till you buy the paint, till you buy the brushes, at what point does it become real? And that's a off the top of my head example. But in my mind, if I know there's something I want to do, like we've been discussing pretty much, that no time like the present of winning, why aligning. But at what point does it trigger in my mind? You can think about that process. I've made that a thing that we understand. You can start it by thinking, but when does it become? When do you acknowledge it? When do you say, "Oh yeah"? Because for me, it's when I buy the notepad and start writing the project out, or when I open the notes feature on my phone and make this thing that's in my head, where it began, real, readable, editable, because sometimes you need to edit that stuff. And then I see it produced in some way, shape, or form, such as, for great instance, the wonderful flyers that Angelica makes every week for our show. Those are my thoughts and ideas, and she does a wonderful job of producing them and putting some image with them that coincides with whatever topic I've selected. So it becomes real to me when I really start putting that stuff into the phone that is my notes, and then I start formulating questions. They're there, starts, but it becomes understood as a goal to make sure I have this much done and this much put out. And just the interest of this show, it becomes real once I start putting those words into my little notes feature or what have you. So do you have any example of something like that when you're consciously acknowledging that you're working towards a goal?
Well, unfortunately, that's not a good way to start anything, right? Unfortunately, I'm not good at or I'm not where I aspire to be with the incremental planning part. Okay. I'm still in some transitions, and I am a big picture thinker, and I do work backwards. So I'll see a vision and, like, okay, I want that. Sometimes I go way too fast, or previously I've gone way too fast and I haven't taken inventory. And I'll give you this example of where as I've assessed myself, I'm making those changes. So there is yard work that has driven me crazy. I had a tree cut down back in August of last year. It was a great big magnolia. And Duke Energy cut it down for me for free. But they said, you've got to haul the brush away. And I do deal with some physical limitations. So if I do too much, I'm physically out. Sometimes I've done too much because I have not paced myself, because I haven't gotten into that tangible planning yet. And I'm having to work towards it. And that was something that I did not tangibly plan for, because I know the city will pick up 10 pieces a week and so on and so forth, but I still wasn't tangibly planning. So here it is, June 9th, and the debris is, I'll say, 99% gone. It could have, should have, would have been gone 8 months ago, but because I'm not where I aspire to be with the incremental planning, goal wise. Like, I know I want that cleared. So even with professional aspirations, working, I can see something that I plan on doing, and I'll work backwards with how to get there, but I don't tangibly align any incremental goals and assessments to those things. So that's what I'm working on.
I will push back slightly, knowing what you've done with turning everything around and what you're continuously working on in that area. Does not mean that what you're saying is not applicable, because I understand how you mean that. I do. But yeah, you've done some planning. You've done some things that I would have to say gave you a conscious acknowledgement of when you knew you were working towards a goal. So yeah, I know that applies. You don't have to. I got you. Before we get out of here, I'm going to say something that I think is highly applicable and definitely puts a lot of what we've discussed in a same pot under the same umbrella. So you can give me your thoughts on this last statement, and then we'll say goodnight for the evening. But um, I wanted to say to people that participate in grown folks business, that share time with us, um, on tonight's topic more so, but I think as a prompt and how you deal with this thing called life is, give thought and energy to where your immediate why may lead you, without knowing precisely. So, what you're doing now, and if you start incorporating whys into your existence, like why I want to go do this thing or why I want to participate in this thing, to our earlier points of discussion, the connectivity doesn't show itself from that one why moment, that one time that you decide to go do something that's attached more to your why than anything else. Um, it will lead you to those other things, like you mentioned earlier. You know, you run for public office, and you've attached that to your daughter's social life, professional life in the future. You've attached that to things that you're able to carry forth with turn everything around and what have you. So your why and desire to help others was the impetus, but you get to think about, if you process what I'm saying, um, in the immediacy of your why, you should think about where it may lead, even if you don't have a precise idea. So I'll leave that there. If you want to get the last word, please do.
Unfortunately, well, I am thankful that most of the time, I'll say most of the time, I think about the consequences and I prepare for negative consequences before I act on something that, especially is progressive or that is oftentimes misunderstood or maybe ill perceived. So I'll challenge my motives, number one, and I'm usually good with myself because I feel like, um, other than ex-husband business, my motives are always pure. uh, they're always about helping my children, my family, my friends, things like that. So even if it takes a little bit of pressure, um, it was pointed out when I got the North Carolina Transit Advocate of the Year award that, oh, during the thanks Felton, during the school bus thing, they put the kids on the GTA. I was not thinking 1 minute about any. I don't even know about awards, right? And my daughter has a car, and my daughter hasn't even ever ridden a bus. Um, what I was thinking about is one kid. If one kid was up there scared around all these adults, and I had the opportunity to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, so I was preemptively thinking what one thing could go wrong if I didn't do this, and I didn't get anybody's permission. And matter of fact, some people even chided me, and so I try to think about worst case scenarios and have answers, before I even step out and do something. And a lot of times that's not even received well because people be like, "Oh, you got an answer for everything." Well, yeah, you should have an answer, right? You shouldn't just. But people, I'm telling you, I've encountered a lot of trouble behind people. You shouldn't have an answer for everything. You just a smart this and, well, no, you should have an answer. You shouldn't just go arbitrarily doing things and don't know why you're doing it or don't know the benefit or the risk or whatever. And I haven't been as humble. When I was younger, I was not humble with those perspectives because I did a lot of things people did not understand how she can do that, and it was not perceived well. But because I knew my intentions were pure, I didn't care how somebody else perceived it. So I challenge people to also think more humbly about, not creating roadblocks just because you got pure motives. Everybody that someone has encountered hasn't had pure motives. So have some humility with your pure motives and try to think about how you will be perceived, even when your time is now, your presence is now, and you feel that urging and that passion. Because I still have passion. I'm over middle age. I'm middle aged now, but I still have passion to serve people. And don't let others deter you from that service, but also dial your humility up a little bit so that you can get that work done, whatever that work is. And that's what I'm challenged with every day, because I can get in my like, these people gonna be hurt, those people forget about what you're talking about, because I know pain, right? But I have to dial it back and be like, wait a minute, you're not the only person that they've ever encountered, and somebody might have stabbed them or cut them or lied to them, put a paper bag over their head. But if we work together and if we all, challenge ourselves, and then, keep on keeping on though. So don't let anybody deter you, or and thank you, Felton, for your show, because it's very enlightening. Man, I ain't never thought so much in my life. I haven't even been feeling good, I'll tell you that, for the last few days, and I haven't done anything. Haven't engaged people because I'm dealing with some family medical stuff. But I wanted to come to this show because it wasn't going to take much for me, right? Some of the other stuff was to take a lot more, but this didn't take as much out of me. And it is so important. It helps me be able to think more also. So that's that risk benefit analysis for me too. So I appreciate Grown Folks Business. And for everybody out there, everybody has something for someone else. So don't let the world shut you down.
Man, as much as I want to say more, I don't let the world shut you down is a powerful statement, and I appreciate you as well. Thanks for sharing and spending this time, and it means a lot. And yeah, what you just left us with, it's not to invert what I was sharing, is to actually say that, even if that expected outcome has some negative connotations, it's worthy of your attention. And the other thing you said, and I so appreciate it, have an answer. But if you don't have an answer, just have something to say, have a thought. That part, I think we could all benefit from. But I appreciate you so much, Lisa. And I appreciate that, Jeff, so much. Thank you all who tuned in, and thank you, Lisa, for coming and sharing the time. What more can I say? Thanks. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. Don, you appreciate what you do on the Wheels of Steel, man. Have a good evening. Y'all be good.